Well, hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
I don't know where we all are.
I have no idea. Well, there's me at the bottom. Look, next to
me.
next to Ben and Chris.
Bear
what
with
did
me.
You do? Man. What did you do?
I don't know.
We all join in it.
It was all working a second ago. I apologize. A flying start.
Anyway, can I?
Here we go. I see what happened. A banner got bumped. My apologies. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Great start to that from us. Welcome to NUFC Talk TV. This is the American Mags, and I am joined by the awesome and, as always, ever-present Wyn. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. And how are you, Ian, down in Baltimore?
All right. Nice that the actual weather's cooperating today.
Yeah, it's not been as miserably humid on the East Coast at the moment. Yeah. How about you, Ben?
Yep, all good, thank you.
Good. Well, as always, let's get the clerical work out of the way. If you're new here and you like what you see, please go ahead and click that like button. If you're not new, go ahead and click that like button. Please don't forget. It's easy to forget while you're enjoying this lovely content. Also, if you aren't subscribed, please consider giving us a subscription. That helps with the algorithms and us getting promoted, as well as we have some membership options that I think start at just £1. And just stay tuned. We're always doing new content. I think tomorrow is the Geordie show, right, Wyn?
To be fair, the membership now, there's no levels now. Everybody gets the same.
That's right. My apologies. Yes, it is all one level now. But yeah.
No discrimination here.
Yep. Very good. So I think there's no better place to start than obviously what I think the afternoon and evening overseas has been blown up about is Eddie's comments when questioned about the England manager position and what does it mean. It was kind of cryptic. It wasn't cryptic, whatever. Obviously, many people have different opinions. So obviously, share your thoughts down. I'll try to flag them so that way we can circle back and I won't miss them. Also, as I always do, and I forget, thank you to the amazing mods in the background that keep everything going, running smoothly. So I appreciate that. And yeah, so I thought it was important because of the controversialness and everyone wanting to go at the journos and things like that. Let's read the quote exactly. And I want to preface that this quote I'm reading is from the one that was on NUFC's website and YouTube page. I don't know if there was any other specialized like Sky interviews or anything afterwards that may be being quoted elsewhere. So if that's the case, I just want to make it clear which one I'm referencing. So this is what Eddie's answer was verbatim. From my perspective, I absolutely love and am very proud and honored to be Newcastle United manager. And as long as I remain happy and free to do my job in the way that I have been and feel supported, then that will continue. So obviously, I think the sticking point has been as long as I remain happy and free to do my job in the way that I have been and feel supported, that is where I think people have two trains of thoughts. So I'll go to you first, Wyn. What do you think?
2 words. Feel supported. Now, on the whole thing, Gareth resigned almost a week ago. Only today have the FA actually advertised, for a new head coach for the England first team. That says to me that since Gareth resigned, because don't tell me they weren't prepared for this. I just don't believe that. The only thing that would have prevented this happening would be if we'd actually won the Euros. Then it would have been a different story. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't meant I do not believe that the FA did not know in advance that Southgate was going to throw the towel in. And for it to be a week before they've actually now placed an advert today for the new coach, that says to me that they've considered whatever's happened between then and placing the advert for people to apply for the job, that they haven't already spoken to either the people or the agents of the people who they thought may be interested in the job, who in fact they wanted for the job. I do not believe that that has not happened. So I think that the FA, I could be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure the FA, before they placed that advert today, have already spoken to Eddie. Maybe to other people as well. And have been told, don't want it at this moment in time. Eddie has come out today, and the two words in his press conference that give me happiness that he's going to be staying with us are, as long as I feel supported at Newcastle United. Now, Darren Eales earlier on in the week and Paul Mitchell yesterday both spoke about the coach being in situ for a long period of time. Eddie signed his contract. They still haven't told us how long that contract's for. By all accounts, it's open-ended. And that I would love to think it was open-ended. So I think that they've been in touch with Eddie, first choice, and he said, not for me right now. And Eales came out with his statement, Mitchell came out with his statement, and now Eddie's come out with his statement saying, as long as I, quote unquote, feel supported, I am very, very, very happy to be manager of Newcastle United.
So do you think he's talking about supported from the actual fans or from management? Because we know that he had a really good relationship with Amanda, and Amanda had his back. So are you thinking that he's saying the same thing then? If somebody, whoever's going to be kind of like the new Amanda type person,
well,
as long as they're giving him support.
It's Paul Mitchell, basically. As long as I feel supported by the hierarchy, I am more than happy to be.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me? I know I dropped
you're
out.
Back, John.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, guys. I was afraid to refresh since I'm the one hosting that it would end the stream or something like that. So I apologize, guys. Hopefully it won't happen again. My internet's been a little wonky just as we went live. So sorry, continue, guys. Didn't mean to break the.
So did you hear what I said there, Josh?
I heard the beginning, and to be honest, about the last 3 minutes, I've heard nothing.
Basically, what I've said is, I think the fact that the FA have waited a week to place the advert for a potential manager means that in that week they've already spoken to Eddie Howe, who, by all accounts, everywhere, he would be the number one choice. They want an Englishman, so Eddie would be number one choice. I think they've spoken to Eddie. Eddie's spoken to the club. Mm-hmm. All said they're happy. Darren Neils came out on Wednesday with his statement saying what a great job Eddie had done and all that. Paul Mitchell's come out, said, what a great job. I really look forward to working with him. So Eddie has said no. So now they've gone public and said, who wants the job? That to me means Eddie Howe ain't going anywhere. And
I agree.
The key words in his statement are, as long as I feel supported. Because Amanda's gone, who was his biggest...
Yeah, I with you, again, advocate. I can see where those who are... I could see those who are more negative minded could see the, might read into something. But for me, I think he's just saying, kind of like if you're talking with your kid or you're talking with your spouse or whoever it is, you say, as long as this happens, nothing's changing, and some people see that as like a loaded statement, but I think that's just kind of the reality of life. He's not sitting here giving a blanket approval that he's going to stay no matter what, which is kind of obvious.
I think a lot of people are taking that almost as a ultimatum, but I think they're reading too much into it. I think all he's saying is what anybody would say at their workplace. As long as I feel happy and as long as I feel supported here, I'm going to stay here. And I wouldn't blame anybody for leaving any job, whether it's a manager in Newcastle United or not. If they don't feel supported at their job, I wouldn't blame anybody for leaving. So he's just saying the obvious. But I think people are looking way too much into this, and they're picking apart that statement word by word. And I think that's just silly. He's fully committed, as you could tell. I don't know.
I was very disappointed with Craig Hope, a journalist who I have a lot of time for, in the way that he worded what Eddie has said was Eddie ultimatum.
Yeah.
The club. And
it was
not an ultimatum.
That was not an ultimatum.
It wasn't an ultimatum at all.
Yeah.
I think it has been carefully worked out behind the scenes between everybody involved to say, right, this is it.
Yep.
Let's go. So Darren Neil comes out, says, happy. Paul Mitchell comes out, says, happy. Eddie comes out and says, happy for these reasons. And those positive reasons are switched on the head to look like negative reasons.
And by the way, Eddie also in that same interview did say a lot of praise for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Mitchell in his statement gave a lot of praise to Eddie.
Yeah, so there's no reason to be looking into these words of both of these guys. He said
I cannot understand any negativity from any of those three statements that have been made this week.
The journalists are bored. That's my thing. And they want clicks to their stories. That's the other thing. And, they're just going to pick apart anything that they can. And it's for no reason. Everybody's happy. And Eddie said, listen, there's a lot of new people coming in. We're trying to work out what's what, and that will get sorted. But he praised Mitchell, which I was happy to hear. Yeah. And Mitchell praised him a couple days ago or whenever that was. So what are we talking about? What's the,
I agree. I think it's emblematic in society, even beyond football. Controversy creates clicks, clicks creates money. And until we can unfortunately maybe get a system that isn't dictated all around clicks and maybe more somehow measuring substantive facts and data, I think we're in a loop. But I apologize while I was frozen. Ian, did you get to say your piece on this?
No, because I really don't have anything to say about it at all.
Okay.
My look at it is I've seen this countless times before, and I'm not trying to be negative on this, but when people actually turn around and everybody seems to be in agreement, that's when something's not always exactly right. It's like the famous last words syndrome. It's like Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings turning around and going, watch out for those archers that'll have some bugger's eye out. It's like that sort of thing. It's like, okay, so all these people are saying, yeah, everything's hunky-dory, everything's good. And then I've seen it so many times before, 2 weeks later, that person is no longer in that current situation, and they've moved on. Yeah. So I'm hoping that everything is as it is behind, and that everybody is saying, yeah, that an Eddie is going to stay. Yeah. But until England actually turn around and announce their new manager, I'm not taking anything at face value, because I've seen it happen so many times before. And yes, I was at Hastings when Harold Godwinson got it in the eye. Yeah, I'm that old.
Well, let's go to some of the start comments real quick before I'm going to take a pivot on it. Go ahead. I actually had that highlighted, Wyn.
I'm sitting on right now because if Eddie went and you got Tuchel or Poch, well, I think almost certainly it would be Poch, who's worked with Paul Mitchell twice very successfully in the past at Southampton and Spurs. Mm-hmm. Would that be a terrible thing? Certainly not. No. It could be the unicorn moment, because Eddie gets to leave Newcastle to take up the dream job of any England manager, managing the national team. And then we get Poch in to take us to the next level. However, I do not want that to happen. I want Eddie to stay with us, because rightly or wrongly, I believe in Eddie. However, again, if by Christmas, with the fixtures that we've got first half of the season, we are not right up there challenging, and if we haven't had stupid injuries the way we have had last season, then I expect us to be there. And if we're not, I'll have to readdress my opinion of Eddie.
Yeah.
And say, well, hang on, maybe he isn't.
Yeah.
As
real quick, Ben, before you go, and I just want to highlight a few starred comments on this, and then we can start to pivot to the next point. We've got Ronald saying that Eddie's staying for the next 10 years. I think that's what we all are hoping, obviously, if everything goes the way we want. But, obviously I don't want him to stay if he turns into a liability.
When we win our second Champions League, then he can go to England.
Gotcha. AG says he thinks that Eddie was straightforward as he always is. He's happy, and that's it. I agree. AG much. Mexican Magpie, I don't think I've seen your name before. Welcome. Mi mucho Eddie Howe, which brushing up on my Spanish, I think that means he really likes Eddie Howe. Nick Knack, also another one I haven't seen in the chat, so welcome. He said lots of caveats there, and I agree that there is a little bit of a list to that statement that in some ways I can see how some may interpret it as such, but again, I think it's more of just what we've already said.
Well, that's why I wanted to touch on, Josh, if you have more comments.
Yeah.
You have more.
I just have just a couple more, and then I'll turn it to you. Amanda's in the chat, so, good news there. Just thought that was that she's going to put in a good word with Eddie, apparently. Also, I know you said you called out Craig Hope. I do agree, AG. I just watched right before we went live. Downey made some I'm blanking on his first name. Keith Downey. He made some comments. Now, I do think he didn't go as inflammatory as Craig Hope. His comments were more just, if you listen to his interview, he didn't. But the thumbnail was a little much. Michael Pescod, again, another name I'm not recognizing, so welcome. He's Gan Nieware. I got to work on my jury.
Top 4 and a cup, how we are the lads, exactly.
And then you already touched about the Podge thing, and then also Daniela, our Irons fan, mentioned she doesn't think he's ready, Eddie that is, but it helps the Newcastle ownership to push for what he wants. And she thinks that the FA want Pep. I think anyone wants Pep. It's whether you're going to get him. And then lastly, I missed that Rosie gifted a membership. So thank you, Rosie, for gifting a membership. That's so kind of you. Big supporter of the channel. Check out her content. She's got some great content, some good recipes. So if you're hungry, make sure afterwards go get some recipe ideas from Rosie.
But I disagree with Daniela.
Okay.
Because I think the FA want an Englishman.
Okay.
I was going to say,
which is why I think the fact that they're putting it out, they put the advert in today, they want it, but it's going to be the under 21 coach that gets it.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben. I know you wanted to say something.
There was a comment about some of the caveats that maybe Eddie was saying. And I can't remember the exact quote. I don't know if you still have it up on your screen.
Yep, I still got it here.
He did say something about. I don't know if it was actually Eddie or it might have been Paul Mitchell about how he wants to play, and the only thing I could think of is if Eddie,
he did say free to do the job in the way that I have been. Is that what you're referring?
Yes. So the only thing that I'm thinking is that him and Mitchell may get their wires crossed a couple times, and that's the only thing that may be worth waiting to see about. I agree with you, Wyn, also that the FA 100% asked Eddie first, and Eddie said, no, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But also, when you said if we're coming to December, January, and we're not in top 4 or higher, right? Is this maybe a way to get for Eddie to have a reasonable out? In other words, if they're not performing in the top 4, as you say, by December, January, which is, I agree, where we probably should be based on schedule or the fixtures, as you say, is that maybe a way for an easy way for Eddie to slide out and then take that England job?
No, because the England job will be occupied by then.
Will it?
Because there's international breaks coming up between now and then.
Okay.
There's another cup.
Yeah, I think it's like 50 days until the next international friendly.
Yeah,
or something.
And there's some kind of international league that they're part of that happens between tournaments and stuff.
Okay.
So no, if he isn't offered it now and doesn't take it now, then come Christmas he's not going to have the opportunity. And if he is offered it now and he doesn't take it, then I don't see him anytime in the future being offered it to him neither, because the FA are right fickle bastards when it comes to, you know, shit like that. If you don't like, if they don't like you, or you do something that wrongs them, you know, you can forget it. You know, greatest England manager we never had was Brian Clough, because he used to rub the FA up the wrong way every single opportunity he got. But he would have, you know, you want to talk about a manager that would have won England tournaments, it was Cloughy. But anyway, that was a long time ago, probably before most people were born.
Well, let's move on to some other comments there. I think we've touched and shared what we think there. Kind of connected to this, the follow-up question was has there been any disruptions, you know, with the rumors and the murmurs? And Eddie equivocally said no. And I think if you follow social media at all, you look at the pictures, you see the little social media. Granted, I know they show you what you want, what they want you to see. But at the same time, there's a level of you can't fabricate people having a good time. And they all look like they're having a good time, genuinely, you know, creating those bonds that only training camp really gives you the opportunity to do. Yeah. So moving on to kind of the next thing, he talked about a few youngsters, and it made me think, you know, trying to think of outside of the box and some different topics to talk about. You know, last year, obviously, Miley was the big youth revelation. You could argue also Gordon, because he's still quite young himself. But I'm just curious, kind of, you know, off the cuff. I know there's not a ton of them, but we've got Alex Murphy. We've got Lewis Hall, who just was brought in. Who do you think, this may be a shorter question, but who do you think has the most likelihood to show up and maybe make a difference this year on the youth side?
I think it's the kid from City that we got.
Oh, Alfie.
That's a good shout.
Alfie Harrison. Yeah. There's already talk about, you know, him going to start training with the first team already, you know. Good. So
good.
Yeah,
definitely
a good shout. I actually totally blanked on him. What about you, Ian? Who would you think might?
I think Alfie Harrison. I think he's, you know, I would have said mentor if we'd have kept him.
Yeah,
but we didn't, and you know, it's just, I don't know. It's like I usually just concentrate on the first team.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't really look at the others, but I don't know. But I think though that, you know, with the new sporting director, he's also going to be looking at bringing, from what he said, he's also going to be looking at bringing people into the youth squad, also looking at bringing in from kids as well, you know, like 8 and 9 year olds in and playing. And he's also going to be, so who knows what they're going to bring in, you know. My biggest concern right now is what are we doing with the first team? You know, we've got 5-6 goalkeepers now, and you know, a central midfielder, central defender, and we bought Hall on a full-time basis. But you know, who else has come in it? I know it's still early days, but
yeah,
you know,
but the clock is ticking. These days
it is ticking.
Fast, Ian.
Yeah, it does tick.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely move on to, because I agree. I think that's probably the bigger fish to fry, and obviously why people aren't talking as much on the youth, but still wanted to mix it up a little bit. But real quick, before we move on, Wyn, would you just agree with the lads, go with Alfie, or do you think it might be someone else? I saw a good shout actually in the chat. Tino is another one that, even though he's made some appearances, he's still young. And I would argue falls in that.
No, I've got no worries about Tino at all.
No worries. Do you think he could be a difference maker? Not worries.
Oh, he already is. He already is.
Wyn, you want to get yourself a rescue dog for your throat, mate? You all right?
I'm having problems with my throat, I must admit.
It's all them ciggies he smokes.
But I will struggle on.
God bless.
we're talking about youngsters, and apparently by multiple reports, Paul Mitchell's number one target is Kang-in Lee of PSG.
Okay.
And we were talking about getting him on loan. That was what we tried for, apparently.
Gotcha. Be interesting.
And they've said, not going to happen. If you want him, you've got to buy him. If you want him, he's 70 million.
Then do it.
Well, you're saying do it. I don't know. You know, that's a massive gamble to take. Except, how much commercial revenue are you going to take from South Korea?
Loads.
Yeah.
If you sign him, the commercial revenue, the shirt sales are going to go through. Now, is that what we
just
should
an
be
untapped
doing?
market?
Never mind that. He's a great right winger, and we need that.
Yeah.
And we need a right winger, and he's fantastic.
And there's a couple of the center backs that we're looking at that are not extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
Well, Malik Chow, as we need to call him.
Yeah.
Again, by many accounts, is a done deal. It's just literally crossing the I's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah.
However, what's happened only this morning was apparently Juventus have offered us Chiesa, Federico Chiesa, for 20 mil.
Yeah, you guys talked a lot about that this morning, you and Gary. And I agree.
And the
that
thing
price
is,
point.
would I rather gamble a mere 20 mil on Chiesa, who you're going to be able to sell for 10, so you're gambling 10 million on a, if fit, proven world-class right winger?
Yeah.
Or do you go with the commercial side with Kang-in Lee and the knowledge that you're going to make millions on shirt sales and everything to go with that in South Korea?
Yeah.
And take a lot more of a chance on them actually being able to perform in the Premiership.
Yeah. No, I agree. They're all good rumors, and I've said for the Asian market for a while. You know, I think there was an aspect of that even with Kowal, and why we got Kowal is Australia's a big market. And if that had
Australia isn't a big market. There's only 10 million people in Australia, so that's not a big market at all.
It's a big landmass, but not a big market.
Okay, it still can bring it. It can make a difference. You know, I would say it's you know, I see probably just as much channels from Oz for Newcastle as even Newcastle domestic content creators. I mean, there's a lot of channels down there that they want to talk Newcastle too. So fair enough. You know, I'm not up to the latest on Australia's population, and obviously Asia as a whole is bigger. But
Son first, but the reason South Korea is virtually everybody supports Tottenham Hotspur because Son's there.
No, for sure, absolutely.
And
that's what we're getting at.
Huge, wealthy, by the way, wealthy market. South Korea is a fantastic economy right now.
Yeah.
They can come over here and spend whatever they spend in Spurs stadiums.
So
and do the same to Newcastle if we want to sign.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Sure.
just a couple more comments from the interview, and then we'll get on to some of the transfer rumors and other things. While we're loosely on youth, he did make some comments on Hall, and I thought they were interesting. So again, I want to read them verbatim. He said, Lewis signing for us permanently is great. Outstanding at the back end of last year. I have to say he's also started preseason really well as well. So I'm delighted with him. While I was writing down that quote, I didn't think of it at the time when I heard the quote, but as I was writing it, it made me realize there's a little bit of a Gordon-esque parallel there. You know, if you think back to last summer and last year, you know, Gordon started a little cold and there were rumors about was it even going to work out here before he even did anything. Then he had a really good, you know, summer at the under 21s, or was it U18s?
Under 21. Under
21s. Okay. And, you know, and then we even signed Barnes, and there were some rumors, was Barnes going to jump the line on him? And then we now know what happened. So I was just thinking, again, trying to be a little bit more on the creative side. Any thoughts that maybe Hall might have a similar type thing? Because I know many people have thought the signing of Kelly is only further proving that Eddie doesn't trust him. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. What do you guys think?
I think Hall gets the starting job on Southampton Day.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
I think
if you look at Eddie's track record, he doesn't tend to drop people. And we ended the season
with Hall,
and a win, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he doesn't change a winning squad.
No, I think Hall starts, but I think he's going to pepper in Kelly, and it'll also depend on this summer. I think he's going to show Kelly a little bit more than Hall in the summer, and see what he has to offer. But Kelly also played for him at Bournemouth, didn't he?
Yes.
So then you got that sort of thing. So we'll see. But I think Lewis Hall starts the season for sure.
I think Lewis Hall will do pretty well on that left side too, with Joe Linton being fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because it's basically sticking Big Joe in on that left side in midfield. You know, it's a barrier. You know, it's like you're coming through, you've got to get past him. You know, and if you do get past him, then Hall's back there to, you know, to take up the slack and do a thing. I think Hall will have a breakthrough season for us this year, as long as Joe Linton can stay fit.
Also, on that note,
Ian,
on that note, Ian, do you remember last season? Every one of Hall's passes went to Bruno G.
Yeah.
Now he's got Joe Linton to kick it off to. It's going to be so much smoother.
And he's also got somebody on that other left side without having to have Flash actually coming right the way back. Yep. So Flash can stay further up.
Yep. Agreed.
You know?
Ben, I'm surprised at you.
Why is that?
You've got the T-shirt on.
We're not doing Burns.
You've got the T-shirt on. And you are not.
Oh, Dan Burns starting at center back.
Dan Burns going to be center back.
Dan Burns center back.
Is he?
Well, I had it bookmarked, but I'll have to come back to it. As much as I love Dan Burn, me and Wyn are probably the kings of it. But I do agree with Dom here. I never want to see Dan Burn at left back again.
But it depends,
I want to see him at center back.
But if Botman's fit,
well, you know, is December, January.
Yeah, you're right.
So you've got Botman, Kelly, BDB.
Yep. That's a good squad to have, though, isn't it?
And then you've got Lewis Hall.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah.
BDB with Botman was part of the best defense in the Premiership.
And also, you're looking
at share.
By the way, with Year 7 in front of them, which they didn't have last season.
But
right. It's also important with Big Dan Burn. I think the local thing plays a very important part in the fact that as time goes on, he will not need to play every week because he wants to play for the shirt, and he won't mind, even if maybe someone of his caliber would want to go because they want game time. Burn wouldn't mind being a depth sub. And that's why I think it's very valuable to have him.
He's a company man, Burn, and I love that about him. But wouldn't you agree that when he played center back toward the end of last season, when they were giving Lewis Hall more games, wouldn't you agree that he had an amazing final few games of the season at center back?
Listen, he is a center back.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But when Botman comes back and we've signed Kelly,
we're going to have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But
I think Lloyd Kelly was brought more in for left back. Everyone thinks he's left center back, and I think he's got the versatility. But I think even, again, if you go back to the Net fan channel and their comments right before we signed him, they talked about him being a left back. They did not talk about him being a left center back. So I think he might be a left center back in the interim to bridge this Botman shortage. And let's also be fair, as many people have said going back about Botman, there will be a little bit of what's going to come back because Botman looked shaky. I'm not saying I've given up on him, but it also wouldn't surprise me if hypothetically a year from now, Botman comes back from the injury and maybe he doesn't come back the same player. It's happened before. You never know.
I think, Josh, being that we have Burn and now that we have Kelly, I think they're going to really take their time bringing Botman back. And so they should.
Oh, yeah. No rush on that. 100%. Because, again, Botman is what, 22?
22, 23, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
He's still a kid.
Yeah.
He's still a kid.
Okay. Another big one that we're going to talk he talked about Sandro. I think everyone's kind of been talking about Sandro because of the favorite give us Bruce deja vu. It's like a new signing. But here's the comments from Eddie. Yes, Sandro started preseason really well. I think we've seen an added development in his game, really, just from the fact that he's close to returning. He's looked really fit. He's looked happy and trained well at a high level. It's like a new signing. Even he said it. So one of the things that I just liked about this is I've seen other channels, I've seen other people talk about now that this gambling thing is done and he's in the clear, he wants to go home, and it was all a ruse to get out of Milan so Milan wouldn't have to deal with the problem. And if you look at the videos, there's nothing supporting that. And I'm not saying that that won't happen. None of us are predictors, but again, I think Eddie's a good judge of character, if nothing else. And, I think we can expect big things from Sandro this year.
I think, first of all, let me shout out Levi because he's at his mom's and he's watching. So let me shout him out.
Shout out little Levi.
Thanks. I think Tonali's going to come back this season and spark everybody out. And I'm usually very pessimistic, but I think this guy's going to come back and spark everybody out. I really do.
He's got a lot to prove too. You know, he's also got to be extremely thankful for the club not turning their back on him,
and I think the
fans not turning their back on him. So I think he's going to come out there and with him and Bruno and Big Joe in that midfield, I think they're just going to tear it up. Yep. Seriously tear it up.
The only thing, Gary, excuse me, Ian, the only thing about Sandro is I'm hoping that since he's been suspended and all through present day, I'm hoping that Eddie's been putting him in training on that right.
Oh,
right?
You sure? You bet he has. Where else is he going to
put him? He has. But because he at times in the few games that we saw him last season, he looked somewhat out of place at times. But you got to think with this almost 1 year, essentially, you got to think that he's been on the right, he's been learning that spot, and he's been getting used to that spot and getting used to the team being where they are. And God, but if we just never see Sean Longstaff on the pitch. Now, I know Sean's going to probably end up starting on the right in midfield against Southampton. I almost can guarantee that.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I hope you are right, Ben. I hope you're right.
You know, but the thing with Eddie is that Eddie takes players that and can change the position of where they play.
Yeah.
You know, it seriously wouldn't surprise me, because we haven't really done anything about a right winger. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't find Tonali actually playing up on that right wing.
Fair enough.
You know,
get that guy on the pitch.
You know, just to see what, you know, the kind of stuff that he can do, because, you know, when we got Joe, Big Joe, he was a centre forward. Yeah, he was a lousy centre forward. He's now one of the best midfielders in the business. You know, and he does that. You know, you look at some of our players that he took over when he came in, that had been there since the Ashley regime. You know, and look what he did with them, and he turned them round.
Yeah.
You know, because who'd have thought that Lascelles would have had a stellar season like he did last year, the way that he'd been playing previous, you know? So, you know, I think, you know, with the way that Eddie manages his players, I think he can pretty much get them out and pretty much have them play, you know, where they're not comfortable, but where they become comfortable.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, as we're running out of time, as we're getting near to the end, you know, these were all very important things from the interview. But one thing that I know on Friday you expect from us, especially in the off season, especially from these meritorious gentlemen of fashion, is the latest and greatest fashion advice on Newcastle's kits. So I now present with what was kind of unofficially debuted today, the feather top. And yay or nay, are we for this? Let me see if I can try and get another angle of it. Here's another one of Jacob Murphy, more from a head-on perspective, you can see, and Harvey Barnes here. But
That's the one.
As the experts in finance, you know, in fashion, we just left Milan. You know, what do we think, gentlemen?
I don't know. It's one of those things where I probably don't like it. When I first saw it, I honestly thought that it had actually got like ferns. Actually, I thought it was flowers, and then it wasn't until we were talking before the show and somebody said, "Oh no, it's magpie feathers." And so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, all right, it is. It's kind of like that yellow away strip that we had. What's that? 15 years ago now.
Oh, the banana one.
Yeah, when it first came out, I looked at that and I went, oh my God. But you know what? 15 years later, I look at that yellow shirt and go, man, I wish I'd have bought that shirt. You know, because I absolutely love that yellow striped shirt that we had all those years ago. So it's kind of like that with this. Will I go out and buy this training top? You know, I bought this one because I actually like the colors and everything, and it's kind of solid and it kind of suits me. Would I go out and buy that new one? No, not a chance.
Yeah. No,
I don't hate it.
No, right.
I don't hate it. When I see it on the players, I actually don't hate it. The colors are actually kind of cool. There's very subtle blues, like in the magpie. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's kind of cool.
I've seen worse. Have you seen the Arsenal kit? Have you seen the Arsenal away kit? It looks like
the African kit.
God, that's
yeah. It looks like a Christmas tree. You know, with the red.
I
and
haven't
green.
seen it yet.
Oh my God! Look up the Arsenal away, or even the Chelsea home. The Chelsea home looks like someone spilt bleach all over it. You know, but yeah.
It's this season's away kit?
This for Arsenal, yeah. But look it up afterwards. But
okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to pull it up, but yeah, no, I agree. You know, you either love the Wild or you don't love the Wild, and I would say I love Wild patterns. You know, I've got I got from if you remember, this is going back a little bit, but when the Rio World Cup was, Messi did a pair of signature cleats and indoor shoes and everything. And even though I'm garbage at football, I always loved indoor soccer or indoor football shoes and things like that. So they're like leopard print with white and blue. And I have those. So I always like wild things. So that for me, it's up my alley. But I figured we couldn't go today without our dose of fashion from the Kings of Fashion here. So we have talked about a lot of rumors, and real quickly before we get into some of those rumors, because to be fair, a lot of them are still rather speculative at this point. I do want to say one other thing from the interview that I missed. I had this jotted down, and I thought it was important, is if you notice a common theme through the video with Eddie talked about, after all of those tough questions, he talked about what does he expect from the fans and things like that. Something along that line was the question. And he basically went, I expect the same things, a great environment at the stadium and to be united. And I thought personally that it's summarized simply, but it couldn't be any better said, because I think in the last month, 2 months, understandably so, there's been some cracks and a little bit for the first time since the takeover, some real different opinions of where we're going. And not that I think it's wrong for anyone to have different opinions, but I think it's important for us to not divide, because I think that's a big part of what gave us our strength. We talk about Bruno and how he loves the city. We talked about Sandro a moment ago and how we stood behind him. And I'm not claiming that other fan bases wouldn't have, but I'm just saying I think that's going to go a long way for Sandro. So I just wanted to say, and if you guys have any thoughts you want to echo on that, I think it's very important that we try and remain united. It's okay to have different opinions, but have them with respect. The same goes with everything in society these days. Have different opinions, but have them with respect.
I don't think Eddie's got anything to worry about the supporters. They're the most mental people I've ever met, and they're the most mental people I watch on every Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, he's got nothing to worry about there.
As much as Beer loves to tease me about it, Beer Viking, that I confess that I at one point was a Chelsea supporter, and I say that very loosely. But one of the massivest things that made me convert is I wanted to be a fan of the team of those bunch of lunatics, because that was what resonated with me, not this touristy, plastic,
posh,
just it's a thing and it's a status symbol. I'm in this for the emotion. I think people have seen it this time. I show my emotion. I get, and that's why I love Newcastle. I think that's a big part of why all of us Newcastle fans.
We're blue collar. We're blue collar. We're hard. It's what we are.
Yeah. Mighty Wyn comes back from 7 pints. His throat's about to go, but he puts in a shift, Well done.
I'll tell you what I've got here just for
Sure, go ahead.
Magpie feathers do not seem so bad.
It's growing on Wyn.
It's awful. Can you imagine being an Arsenal fan?
Yeah.
And you've got that this season.
That's their training top. Have you seen?
Yabba dabba doo.
If you look on the private chat, I posted 2 links. One of their shirt and the other one of Links Africa. And
absolutely.
It's the same thing. You look at Links Africa and you look at Arsenal's away strip, and it's like somebody just come along and went, "Oh yeah, we can wear Links Africa."
That is awful.
Trash.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. To me, I get like Rastafarian vibes from that one.
And to me, that's on a par with the feathers.
Yeah, I'd
it actually says, though, interestingly, Ian, if you go into the to the connection of North London and Africa.
Yeah,
So,
fine.
there
It
you
still
go.
looks rubbish, though.
Yeah, it still looks like shit, mate.
No disrespect to Africa, but
No,
that
no.
just looks like shit.
Yeah. No,
I think they were
Yeah.
probably talking about the African
North London.
continent as opposed to Lynx Africa.
yeah, North London. Now that's a shithole.
Yeah. Well, with the last little bit of time, anything added? I think, Ian, you mentioned something was posted today about, was it the membership scheme?
Yeah, it was about the way the new membership thing is coming out. Where did I put it? So yeah, so apparently they have actually listened to the way that fans have said, and the club will continue to, I'm reading this straight from the website, the club will continue to operate a member ballot for the majority of available home match tickets, with 65% of members surveyed in favour of retaining a ballot model. However, the ballot process will change to allow members that are successful in the ballot to select their seats within a specific period of time. So for the 24-25 season onwards, a small percentage of available home tickets will be retained for a new later member general sale period on the first come, first served basis, with 66% respondents in favor of that. Now, because this is American mags, there was a question as to what about international members? And it says international members outside of the UK can access the ballot and member general sale. Those international fans will need to plan travel well in advance, will have a short period to register their interest in attending games at St. James's Park this season. Further communication will be emailed to international members in due course. Now, whether that happens or not, I don't know, because we had a conversation about this, the team leaders of Toon Army USA this past week, and we were kind of upset to find out that we weren't included in a general email telling us that when all the hospitality tickets were being released to the general public, and so all the which is basically the only way for international fans to be able to guarantee a ticket is through hospitality. So it turns out that all the hospitality tickets at the lowest level at 160 quid a piece, at Barracks, have all sold out for the entire season. So that basically leaves paying 350, 360, 380 pounds per ticket, for the other three hospitality venues. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the team, but I'm not paying 700 quid for me and the missus to go and see, Newcastle in the cheapest available hospitality. Yeah, it's a 3-course meal. Yeah, you get a thing, but you know what? It still ain't 700 quid's worth. Now, the 180 quid was good, but we didn't know anything. No, we were not informed that this was happening until it was too late. So again, it's the same with this international ballot thing. The fact that they're going to let us know, I'll believe it again. I'll believe it when I see it. And again, yeah. I know that they're concentrating, and I 100% stand by this of getting the fans that are already there in Newcastle tickets so that they can go and see the games, because there's already 50,000, sold, and there's still another 30,000 people wanting to go to see the games. And I understand that, but you've still got to have it. If you want to build the brand internationally, you've got to start allocating tickets that international fans can actually get those tickets and actually come over and then spread the word and build it into an absolute global phenomenon.
Yeah.
So, and
it's interesting, like a couple of things like this, Ian, just to share something I've heard on my end too with one of our supporters, one of our like head members. Some people may know Kayla. She's been in a few of Adam's videos and things like that at times, but she was one of our heads, and she had an unfortunate situation with when she went to renew her season ticket, because she had a season ticket that our group could use. Some issue happened with her card, and she was never notified, and she lost her season ticket.
Yeah,
and
and
there's
she'd had
no
it
way
for,
she's.
and
And
she'd
now
had it
there's
for
no
10
way she's
years,
getting
right?
it back.
Right, and she'd had it for 10 years, right?
Something like that. She's
Yeah.
had it for a good while. So again, there's definitely some things that still always need to be worked out. Nothing's ever perfect for sure. But just to move on to a couple closing comments, because unfortunately I have a pretty hard stop.
On all of that, can I just say?
Sure, go ahead, Wyn.
The statement that was put out today with regard to ticketing and ballots, especially for overseas thing, this is kind of the first thing that's happened since Brad Miller took over as the chief operating officer. Now, this is the Brad Miller that they recruited to specifically address the fact that Newcastle's IT whole system wasn't fit for purpose, especially the box office.
Yeah.
And they got this guy in whose resume was he'd opened Stansted Airport, he'd been at Manchester Airport for 6 years or something, where all about getting information from a million different sources to the people who need to know it. And I thought the statement today, I'm very sorry to hear about the person who's lost their season ticket because of the credit card or the, you know, the card thing. I can't comment on that. But I think getting Brad Miller in, because the one thing that PIF have signally failed to do since it took charge was the box office. The box office generally. They've pissed so many people off with, you know, all the Google Wallet and iPhone Wallet tickets that you have to have now. He has been brought in to sort all that mess out.
Yeah.
And the fact that this, I don't know what you would call it, routine has been introduced today, as you rightly say, shows that maybe we're going somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
We'll find out when we eventually, because we're still ain't at it yet, when season ticket holders get their emails to say, right, download your ticket.
Yeah.
We'll find out what happens when that happens. I was in the box office, excuse me, a week past Monday because I wasn't able to book the Cellar Cup tickets online. Failed miserably to do that. So I said, right, I'll go down to the box office and do it in person. And this could be just maybe just the start of them starting to get that right.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely got to wait and see.
I hope it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Because right now, the IT systems at St. James's Park are not fit for purpose.
Probably still running on Windows XP, right?
What's that, sorry?
I said it's probably still running on Windows XP.
Well, I don't know what
Windows Vista.
But of course, they have had they've changed the website.
Yeah.
From NUFC.co.uk to NewcastleUnited.com. They've changed the booking system from book at NUFC.co.uk to book at Newcastle. We'll have to see how it goes. But I think it may be just the start of Brad Miller starting to get something right.
I think this is a good transition. As again, I apologize, guys. I gotta wrap up. I gotta run soon, but we love you, Wyn. But we think you got a case of Carlingitis, as Beer Viking says today. Going back to some of the other highlighted questions, Dom, another good point he made. You know, we've talked about this in the past on this channel for sure. I've definitely brought up Pulisic in the U.S. market and why that could have been beneficial.
He sold more shirts than Ronaldo, apparently.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but maybe. I know he's
Chelsea?
very popular and liked here. He's a very likable character. He's a very humble guy. Like, he's not arrogant or anything like that. So definitely wouldn't surprise me.
Apparently Pulisic has sold more shirts in the USA than Ronaldo.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I believe it.
Especially with the age difference factored, you know, and how much football has become popular along with
fans.
Yeah. And then question from Queen, and I think some people answered it, you know, with rumors of Trips leaving, who would cover. I think that's one of the reasons why I personally wouldn't be heartbroken, because the only thing to me for Trippier that is his unique value point is his leadership. Not to underplay that, because it's a very big value. But I think Tino has the skill, and I know people have joked about it. Where's Harrison Ashby? But again, maybe it was a flash in the pan. There's always that person that looks great in a preseason, but I still go back to last preseason. Harrison Ashby was the most impressive looking person during preseason other than Lewis Miley to me. Another good question or good point from Dom, maybe Eddie changes up systems. I know some people think Eddie's very rigid. Others think maybe he will, but as Dom says it, he thinks he'll do it to keep Longstaff on. So maybe a good point there. And then the last one I had highlighted near the end, a good question from Michael. I know at times we're on some weird hours depending where you are in the world. But I believe, and I don't want to speak for Chris fully, so he can correct me if he's watching, we do this by intention. We're trying to reach more international audience, and not that we don't want you lovely UK fans that love Newcastle, but we know we have a tough hill to compete with the likes of many other channels. So we're not only trying to be ambassadors to this team that we love and maybe attract some new fans in these different time zones and markets, but we try to give a voice to different time zones. So that's why some of our shows are at odd hours, quote unquote. So as always, I profusely thank you, gentlemen, for all your help and helping me along, especially I had some IT difficulties tonight. So I apologize and thank you all.
You need Brad Miller on your side.
Yeah, I need Brad Miller to help me out. But don't forget on the way out, again, hit that like button. You know, if you haven't, consider subscribing. We're always putting new content out. Hit the notification bells. Also, if you're a neutral fan or you're just football mad and you like content beyond Newcastle, I know Chris has got a sister channel, Football Uncensored, where he's talking about, I think, the EPL and even football as a whole, other leagues. So if you're like some of us that like all of the news, tune into that. You'll probably find that very engaging. Last but certainly not least, thank you to the wonderful mods for all you do in the background. And yeah, we will leave you. We'll be back next week, probably the same time for American Mag. So if you enjoyed it, we'll see you next Friday. And yeah, thanks for your time, gentlemen.
Have a good week. Stay cool.
Cheers.
Away the lads.
Away the lads.